Hello, Barrie here from Best China Info.
I hit the point where I feel the need to speak voice on my voice and speak what I feel into the truth.
The way America ferments these things in other countries, it also ferments in its own country.
I worked for a newspaper in England, in Britain, Britain's largest daily circulation newspaper for 6 years, so I do have some knowledge of how the media work.
Everything looks like it's still there, nothing's been stolen. There's just a lot of paper on the floor, a lot of paper thrown around. Now this to me looks very much like someone wants it to look like the office was ransacked. It's staged. This is fake.
And if I were going to give any advice to China as a nation, it is this. With those kind of people in control of American foreign policy, don't give them an inch. Do not trust them. I said quite clearly, this guy is not going to be any different than the old guy. In fact, probably he's going to be worse. The instant I said this, I was blocked on Twitter, and Twitter told me, your Twitter will now only be visible to your followers and nobody else.
And these people are called spin doctors. And spin doctors exist today just as much as they ever have.
Blinken is up to his neck in that situation. That's where he's coming from. So his politics, I don't think are that important. What matters is money, the same as always. Everybody is, the system is this disinformation, the system is this divide and conquer, and it is purposely built. So everybody is bickering all the time and nothing happens.
Xinjiang sits very squarely on something called the BRI, the Belt and Road Initiative. One belt, one road.
They want to stop China. It's that simple. They are jealous and they are desperate. China will and is developing its own standards of semiconductor technology. Our government, as I like to say, because I'm Chinese, I live in China, I'm a Chinese citizen. Thus I consider myself a citizen of China. So I'm loyal to the country that gives me a living and looks after me. That's not so hard to understand. I can tell you, China is without question the most civilized country, the most decent and reasonable country I have ever lived in. And we are shadow banned. That is to say, we are suppressed, we are pushed down, and we are pushed out, and we are held back, and we are hidden from view.
Adrian Zenz then accepted. So at first he said, no, I can't do this. Later he accepted. And we presume that he was offered a lot more money to find.
Together or not together, the people and the government in China are like this. China is, to me, like a beehive. This label of conspiracy theory is used in a derogatory way, but actually there are conspiracy theories because there are fucking conspiracies. Now, the BBC, I've never trusted particularly, certainly not their news or their political programs. And in truth, any thinking person in the UK doesn't trust the BBC. Now, before you say there's a conspiracy theory, and here comes a conspiracy theory, remember that this is a term that was coined by the CIA to discredit anybody who questioned anything. They were labeled as a conspiracy theorist.
Part of propaganda theory is something called atrocity theory. And what atrocity does is it uses witness testimony, which is very hard to disprove, because you can produce a witness who says, oh, this terrible thing happened, and if you try to dispel this, it makes you sound like some kind of a Holocaust denier, like you are denying that something happened, and you get called a denialist by saying that we don't believe this. So witness testimony and atrocity theory is a big weapon of propaganda, and we used to call it spin. Spin is a term that's not very much used these days, but what it used to mean, and what it still does mean, is when a media organ, such as a newspaper or a news channel, take a story or take a piece of information and spin it. That is to say, they give it another meaning, or they give it a meaning that they wish you to perceive. They wish to change your thinking about a particular situation. What the Western governments don't like and why they hate China so much is the fact that they do not control the BRI.
I have not seen any authoritarianism in 6 years of being here. If the US, the authorities, did not want there to be this kind of trouble in the Capitol building, there would not have been this kind of trouble in the Capitol building. Make no mistake, there would not have been, it would not have happened. 我是中国人. The war against terror, or twat as I called it in the media, which I worked for at the time, I think I wrote this in The Guardian. The war against terror, which I labelled twat, and they didn't like that term. The MI6 didn't like that, so they renamed it the war on terror. My little joke. Democracy does not exist. It's bullshit. Zhongguo rose to the top of the civilized world and led the way. And China is far, far more powerful now, and China has the power to say, actually, no, we don't want it that way. We want things to be fair and equal. We don't want you to twist our arm behind our backs anymore. To me, China has done this, and America is going and crying about it and creating all these sanctions and all these Republicrats and Democrats, because they're pretty much the same thing. They're two sides of the same coin, two sides of the money, because the money owns all of it. But it's one thing, it's one organism. It works together in unity. That's how I see China. It's a beehive, and it works together for the common good. I'm speaking truth on behalf of China, because China are being very, very unfairly represented across the world. Vladimir Putin will tell you this. He stated it quite clearly. The presidents, they come and go. The policies don't change. You work in cooperation, it's a win-win. And America doesn't have that zero-sum mentality. What does very nearly assassinated actually mean? The Chinese are very pragmatic, very practical, and very matter-of-fact about things. I'm not a fan of impingements on my liberty, but I'm very happy in China, very happy. You compare the Western police with, for example, the police in Hong Kong. The Hong Kong police are, without question, the most amazingly patient and held back and reserved but conscientious police force in the world. What they had to go through over the past year in 2019 And I know where the authoritarianism is. It's not China.
Showing that they are concocting evidence in much the same way that Bellingcat concoct evidence. They are spinning.
The government swung into action and they put the people first. The health of people came absolutely number one. It was nothing about money, it was nothing about finances, it was nothing about politics. It was, let's look after the people. The people's health is the prime concern. It's not a question in China. People just do this automatically. They work together. It's an automatic thing. This is the way of thinking. And this is what many other countries don't understand or anybody out there is worried about World War III, I feel pretty safe that it won't happen because America doesn't pick fights with people that can hit them from, and I think the smack in the nose is from China. He's not banned in 4 years of presidency for inciting violence everywhere else in the world, but the second he says, I'm not going to the party, bang, Trump is out, silence, finished, over. And I think it was Abraham Lincoln who said, America will never be defeated from the outside. America will defeat itself from the inside, right? I know this. The ones who are happy with their government are generally really stupid. There is this revolving door in US politics and the MI6, the military-industrial complex, and seats and places in the government. There's a revolving door of people moving from one thing to the other and back out again, yet again, and trying to defame and libel China. The Chinese government should sue the BBC for this, in my opinion. It is completely wrong and it is completely disgusting. Thing which the people in the West are told they have. You can vote for this guy, or you can vote for this guy. This guy and this guy are both the same. There's no difference between these two people, or three people, but it's generally two, a two-horse. And the other way of saying MIC is made in China, which I thought was very clever. And yeah, you could say actually, let's look at it like this. You have the MIC, the military industrial complex, and then you have made in China. I think we all know which one's going to win in that little competition.